Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Tristcast. I'm your host, Tristan Dario, and I invite you to sit back, relax, catch a vibe, and enjoy the show. Hey y'all, take a moment before you get settled. Follow the Tristcast and leave a rating. Alright, I'll see you in today's episode. Peace. Hello, beautiful people. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Don't mind my trash. Had some peanut butter crackers. Crackers? Hey, don't ask me, bro. I don't know where my brain be at sometimes. How's everybody doing? I know I already asked you that question, but hey, I like to get it across that I care about you guys. Indeed. Today, I've been very productive, and I don't know, maybe not the most productive. Nah, definitely productive. Yeah, I got my normal stuff done, and that's fine with me. Is it at the level? I don't know. Yeah, I'm at a good level right now. What the fuck am I saying? But if you are new here, welcome back. If you are a current listener, but if you are new, I am Tristan Dario, and this is the Tristcast. And I call the people who listen to me the beautiful people, because we're all beautiful in our own way, and I believe that we have all of our own beautiful, unique characteristics and traits, and fuck yeah. Changing up the angle a little bit. We're going with the grays and the blacks. Haven't worn this shirt in a while. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That was too much. That was a little bit obnoxious, if I have to say. Feeling very happy today about the fact that I get to film the podcast again, even though next week this is more than likely going to change. I'm more than likely not going to be sitting here next week because I like to change. Okay, I like to change where I film because I like to have my own space to do it, if that obviously makes sense, because I like to be out of the way. I like to be in a place where it's not going to get any excess noise. I like to make this as fun and goofy and joyful as much as I can. But speaking of that, on joyful, I know that we can't be joyful all the time. We can choose joy, and we can choose to see the good side of things that happen all the time. But today, I think I want to take it a different step. And I'm back to it, writing up what I want to talk about, because I'm a professional creative. But it's not easy to be happy, positive all the time. I also think that it can lead to being eventually burnt out, because it is important to feel every emotion we possibly can, because we're human and we're going to experience them. And I'm always coming on here, and I notice this about myself. I come on here and I talk about how important it is to remain positive and optimistic. And that is a huge thing to me. It's very important to me. But I also don't think it's the most realistic thing, because we're human and we're more than likely going to experience a negative emotion. It doesn't have to be black and white, positive or negative. We're going to feel so many different things. And some days it's going to be extremely hard to feel positive. And we're going to want to do things. They're going to pull us out of that feeling because it's uncomfortable. Because not everybody wants to feel like that deep void in their chest, and they're going to look for something that can pull them out of that. And that's been me several times. Not even in the it's been going on for a while. It's been going on for a few years, but it's my desire, and not it's definitely desire, but it's also like it's my determination to find a positive outlook on the situations that happen. And I think it's also been my journey in like letting go of the things I can't control that also helps me let go and try to be optimistic. But even then, it can be very hard. And lately, especially, I was saying about a month and a half ago, even a few weeks ago, I was talking about how I didn't cry much. And lately, I've been crying more. Like I talked about it in the previous episode, how I've been reading this book, and it's called All Things Wise and Wonderful. And there was a chapter about a little boy who was known to be like Dennis the Menace type kid. And he got himself into shit, and people thought he was just a menace. But not really, he was from a very poor side of town in the story, and it got to the point in this chapter where he found a dog, and he started taking care of the dog, and the dog started getting sick. And he didn't know because he doesn't know anything about the dog. He found the dog. He loves the dog. And he goes and sees the writer of this book. Basically, this guy is a veterinarian kind of thing. He's an animal doctor. And he goes out and answers people's calls and checks on their animals and tries to help them. And sometimes he succeeds, sometimes he doesn't. But in this story, the boy had found the dog, and the dog was getting sick. And this was this old disease or sickness that if a dog didn't get the help before 2 weeks, eventually the dog's going to die. And so the boy brings the dog in. The vet takes a look at him. And the boy can tell that the dog is really getting sick. And he said that he keep bringing the dog back to get him checked on to make sure if he's getting better or not. And this boy went from being the menace of the town, throwing fireworks into people's mailboxes and causing trouble. He went and he started doing odd jobs. He started going and making money, so anytime he felt he needed to take care of the dog, he could take care of the dog. And it's this wonderful story of a kid who didn't give a shit about anything, and then he found something that he put so much love into. And towards the end of the chapter, comes to the point that the dog passes, and the boy couldn't handle it. And it got to the point in the chapter where the vet had to go to the boy's house, and you see how disheveled and his environment just is not healthy and safe. His mom isn't really treating him that right. You can tell that they definitely aren't, I don't even know how to say it, but they're not in a good place, and they don't have a lot of money, and you can tell that it's very hard. And from that point, after the puppy dies at the end of the chapter, the vet goes on to say how the kid was never that same boy who fell in love with the dog. And it goes on to say that he got into worse trouble, and eventually you just read that he disappears and you never see his name again, or you never hear his name again, you never see him again, and people only knew him as this person who didn't give a shit about anything. But the vet saw, and the reader sees how much this little boy cared about this dog. And it just sent me, because I think I am just a very sensitive person, especially to pain. And when I read something, especially the way this writer put it, it was just like really deep. And dude, I couldn't stop crying. It sent me. And it felt really good, because as a person who wasn't able to get those tears out, and now I look for the ways to get my tears out, because I don't want to push down my pain. I want to feel that. And even when I'm mad, anger is another emotion I used to be so afraid of, because I was afraid of if I get so angry, what am I going to do? And when I started asking that question to myself, it was less about what am I going to do, and it transitioned to how am I going to handle my anger when I experience it? Am I going to take it out on the people around me? Am I going to take it out on myself? So it's definitely, especially with feeling certain emotions, and when I'm flustered or when I'm nervous or feeling anxiety, I remind myself that I'm safe and that I'm okay and that everything's going to be okay. And I often find myself saying to friends how much I look for that, for a person to tell me everything's going to be okay, someone to give me a hug and tell me it's all going to be okay and I don't have to worry. But now I'm getting to this point where I'm becoming that person. And the longer I was seeking another person to do that for me, the more I wasn't giving myself that love, that comfort and sense of safety. And I don't know if I've talked about it before, so I'm going to take this opportunity now. Abandoning ourselves. I know I've talked about it before, but maybe I haven't emphasized the subject. We can't abandon ourselves for other people, other situations. We really have to stand up for ourselves, and we really have to just acknowledge when we need something and when we need to give it to ourselves. So when I can sit down and I can give myself the time I need to really feel what I'm feeling, and it's nothing to be guilty of or ashamed of, dog. Especially, I still think in 2024, men still have a hard time being vulnerable about their emotions. And when men are really, really sad, they choose to hide it. And I don't want to be like that. And I don't want to push some sort of thing that men shouldn't express this emotion, because I think that's what invites people to understand more and seek to understand more what the person's going through. And I say this for everybody, but men specifically. I think men specifically need to understand the importance of feeling their emotions, understanding when something doesn't feel good, but also just embracing when they are in pain. Not always seeking someone else to just be there. Don't get me wrong. I really do appreciate and desire connection in my life and having a deep connection with somebody. Don't get it twisted on that. But it's if we are constantly wanting to give this sense of responsibility of how we're feeling to another person, one, I think it's not toxic, but it's also not healthy. We have to be able to handle it on our own too. I think it's a sense of independence, because we all want connection, but I think, at least personally for me, I need that sense of independence in a way. Because if it's all from a sense of codependence, I'm just depending on someone else to handle my emotions for me. And I don't want that. I want to be able to handle my shit on my own, except in the moments where I really need somebody. And if I'm in pain and I need to get out tears, I would rather be able to get the pain and tears and anger or whatever emotion I'm going through out, rather than like just feeling that void. Because I think the void comes from pushing it down. And over so much time of pushing down the sadness, the pain, the anguish, it's like it's just going to overflow at some point, and then it's just going to bleed onto other people. And I am someone who really emphasizes the importance of not allowing our problems and issues to bleed on the people around us. We have to be able to handle it, but we also have to be able to know when to ask for help. And there's nothing to be ashamed of for that. As a person who was afraid to ask for help, that is just another... Asking for help is just a piece of vulnerability. And the more that we open up in moments that we really need help, I think open up the opportunity to understand what it is we're experiencing more. So if there's any way that I can be there for another person who really needs it, I want to be able to be a good listener. Because that's what people need, especially in moments when they feel so in the mud and everything's a mess, everything's falling apart. Being able to listen and not just rush to have an answer ready. Because I genuinely think there's times where people need someone to talk to give advice, someone to talk to, someone to give advice, someone to listen, and then whatever else they might need, they just ask for it. But we can always give advice, and we can always be there. I mean, can't always, but we can set time aside and hold space for people that we care about for them to talk to. But listening. I'm a very sentimental person. And I just had a conversation about this kind of thing. When someone's going through something and they get let down and they're working really hard towards something, but something happens, they get let down, and they're really down about it. And maybe this has something to do with other people that were a part of the situation. Some people need that support in the way of like, boost them up and be like, yeah, what do they know anyway? What's this got to do? You're going to be badass. You're going to be fine. Like, just getting up and matching up with like, fuck whatever it is, fuck them, they don't understand what they're doing, or this or that, whatever the situation is. And then me, if I know that someone was really working hard towards something and they didn't get the result that they were looking for, my automatic way is to be there and support them in the way of like, I'm here for you. I believe in you. It's more of this sentimental, because I'm not the type of person to just, unless I read it enough, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh yeah, fuck all that. That's bullshit. That shouldn't have happened that way. Fuck that, dude. That's bullshit. I'm on the other side. I'm like, I try to be that caretaker. Like, I'm sorry. It's going to be okay. I'm here for you. And this conversation really helps me understand, how people are different and how people are different say you have a group of friends. You have 3 friends. So 4 people in total. You and one friend are best friends. You've been friends for a while. You and that friend met another friend because that friend and that friend. So A, B, C, and D. A and B are best friends. They grew up together. They're best friends. But B is friends with C. And B introduced A to C. So they're all a clique. C and D are friends, but they became friends because A and D are really close friends. So A and D invite C into the group. So those 3 can have their own inside jokes, their own friendship going on. A, B, and C can have their own thing going on. B and C are going to have their own inside relationship. And then A and D are going to have their own alongside A and B. So when all of these people come together, each person is a different person for each person. And you're going to have a different relationship for each person. So it shows how important it is that we each have our own traits to bring to the table. We all in a unique way different for one another. And I find that so interesting. I find it to be, because now that I've noticed it and how I help in some ways and then another person can help in other ways, I just see how it really works. The chemistry, the connection, how it really just, I don't know, like molds together. It really does. And it really goes into the phrase about how we're all a ceramic, and all of our we're a mosaic. All of the things that happen around us, our life, our journey is what creates us. We are the mosaic. And that also really intrigues me. So just because I'm the way I am doesn't make anything bad about it. And if I can open myself to different ways of helping, that's even better. But it's also really cool to see how different friends come at situations differently, and they are going to help in their own way. And I think that's really cool. And I think that just expresses how much we need each other in different aspects. And I think that comes back to feeling our emotions. Whatever we need in that moment, that certain friend could help us. That friend could help us get the anger out, help us get that frustration out. And then the other person could be the caretaker, be like, I'm there for you. I'm here for you. And I like that. I think it just shows how each of us are our own unique person. And this is how we go into it. And we have our own ways of helping. And I think that's cool. So yeah, to feeling our emotions and letting them out in a healthy way rather than taking it out on other people, taking it out on ourselves. And if you don't cry enough, try. You know, if you really feel like you need to get something out, I know that feeling. I know the feeling when I haven't cried in a while, and it's exactly what I need. And then I crave that feeling, and then I'm like, oh, I just want to get this out because I know this is what's going to help. You know? And I think this also leads into how sometimes we can be afraid of being vulnerable or taking a chance at something. And I think this really comes to being vulnerable with new people. I think it's about our openness to express ourselves and to come to people when we really need it. And sometimes we can be really afraid of taking the first step. It's a challenge because you want to do it, but then you're afraid if it's going to be too much. And then you get in this whole cycle of thinking about like you're too much, but really you're not, you know, like if you feel comfortable enough to talk to someone, but you're still afraid to do it. That's the challenge, is just taking that first step. And You don't really know if it's going to be taken the way that you want it to be taken, and you feel like it's going to go south. But we can't listen to that. Can't listen to that part. It kind of reminds me of, like, I just watched The New Mutants on Disney Plus, and the phrase is like, this whole, I don't know if it's a proverb type thing, but like when everyone's born, they're born with two bears within them. One, compassion, love, good, and then the other bear is fear, shame, evil, and you ask which one in the end wins, and it's the one that you feed. So taking that step, being vulnerable, and working towards trying to be more open despite how afraid you might be. Because that's the real thing, is like every day we have to face fear and we have to do things that we're afraid of. And that's not easy, especially as we get older. Because when you're young, the bear that's loving and happy and compassionate and seeking things, that's so large within us. So like we automatically just are going to have that compassion, seek that compassion. But as we age, the other bear starts to grow and get louder. So like the more we grow, fear is just going to try to come in. And I think that's why it's so important to face our fears early on and to prove to ourselves that we can do so much more. Because at some point, we're going to get to a point where we might be too timid. We might be too afraid to give ourselves to people or open up to people or even try. Because say you were in a long relationship and then after that relationship ends, you remain single for 2-3 years. You're going to be more used to being independent. And every single time you see something that doesn't align with something certain, or it reminds you of your past, if you haven't dealt with your past, that's going to hold you back from receiving something really good. And I'm someone who has done that. And that's really not easy. And that's the challenging part with taking that first step, is instead of listening to what happened in the past, instead choosing to let go of it with remembering and keeping close the lessons learned so that they're not repeated. But because you have to hold on to those lessons, you're also remembering what's happened. And you have to either choose to listen to the fear and your ego telling you, oh, this is just something that's going to turn out all the other ones. It's not going to turn out like the other ones. I mean, not everyone's the same. Not everyone wants to hurt you. So like, it's really choosing to think the best of it and to hope for the best and have faith that despite if it works out or not, you're still trying. And at least you can say you're trying. And if it leads somewhere else, hell yeah. But if it doesn't, we can't stop there. And we can't say, oh, well, this one didn't work, so I'm going to just go back to being independent. Obviously, we don't continue seeking it. You know, when you chase something, that's when it's running away from you the most. You have to be okay with not having it. And I think that's what comes back to being able to be not abandoning yourself. Being that one person for you, you know, instead of finding someone who can be there for you when you really need someone to tell you it's all going to be okay. You have to learn how to be that person to remind you that everything is going to be okay. Despite how things feel, despite how we might feel in the moment, we have to be so determined to see the best work out. And I'm not the best at that, but I try. I try my hardest. And I think I'm doing okay. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I've made it to where I'm at right now because I know that I've came through this vast amount of growth on my journey of letting go of what I can't control and choosing to let go of the distractions that aren't actually for me. Sometimes it's probably still not the healthiest ways. The ways I do things, it may not be the healthiest, but I'm still trying. And I recognize that I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect. All I can do is try to be my best. And I think that's what people appreciate the most. It's just being my best. And taking that first step is taking a step towards growing, becoming a better version of ourselves, choosing to be better rather than going back to old habits. So take that first step. Despite how you might be scared or how challenging, no matter what, take that first step. It's going to be scary. It really will. But I like to think if I can do something that's scary, that's going to make me more confident in myself. And that confidence in myself is really what I need. Because at that point, it's not about having the presence of another person in my life. Not allowing someone's presence in your life to affect how you're going to keep moving forward. Not all relationships, not all friendships work out in the end. Doesn't change the fact that I love those people, doesn't change the fact that we love those people, or doesn't change the fact that we don't care, like we care about these people and we want them to succeed. And I am definitely one of those people where, especially in relationships, if I am the one hurt, I might be angry for a little bit, just for when it happened and a little bit after that, but I'm not a grudge holder. And eventually I'm going to be either someone who reaches out to them or probably not even then. I probably won't reach out. It'll just be, I'll start praying for them and I'll start putting them in my thoughts, hoping that they are exactly where it is they want to be and that they're succeeding. And some people have expressed to me that can be a naive and that can be, whatever they think it can be. But to me, I think I am better off releasing whatever negative emotion I might have towards someone and choosing to express gratitude for the experience I had, the lessons I learned. And if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So that stays with me always. And I think that really, really involves being able, even more so, to be able to open up about it when you need to. Because if we hold it in, especially the grudges, if we hold in the things that we feel people do to us and disrespect us or are rude to us or push us down or invalidate us, instead of trying to be like, if the person really cares about you, the person's going to do better. They're not going to... Hold on. Had a tiny little mishap, but we're back. This is going to be a fun video to edit, that's for sure. If people really care about you, the people that... So like, if you invalidate someone and they're really hurt by it, by that person, but instead of that person staying stuck in their ways and just being like, oh, you shouldn't have taken it that way, instead listening an understanding that you, whatever your intention may have been, it wasn't the way it landed, and choosing to be better, people appreciate that more. And I think that is what invites people to open up more, to be real. And I've definitely been that person before. Not in, like, I have invalidated people. I have. And I think because of the fact that I do criticize, I think I criticize myself a lot, especially in moments like that, because I'm not someone who wants to hurt people. I'm not someone who does that or tries to do that. I don't try to do that. And so in the moments where I have, people have expressed that they felt invalidated. And I appreciate that they tell me that. And I appreciate that they don't bite their tongue or don't hold back and just go quiet. Because if they go quiet, then I wouldn't know at all what I've done. And I would rather be held accountable when I need to be held accountable. Because if we're not held accountable, we're not going to change. We're not going to do better. We're going to remain the same. So especially in moments where I need to be held accountable, I take that as a chance to work on myself. And it has been expressed to me before. And when I have invalidated people, that goes in line with me wanting to be a better listener and invites me to be more open to other people's perception and how they might feel and how I can come from a better place and choose, like I said, to be better. And sometimes we may feel whatever we feel for being held accountable. But I think if we take the moment someone tries to hold us accountable and tell us what we've done wrong, if we choose to get angry and take it out on that person, we are only fueling exactly what they're holding us accountable for. And I think that's why we need to be more slow to react. We need to be more understanding of other people's experience and other people's perspectives. And I think that's how we can save relationships. We can save friendships. Because for those who are so hell-bent on their ways and they don't want to accept that they're in the wrong, not only are they causing pain everywhere they go, they're not choosing to grow, they're not choosing to be open to other people's perspectives or what they have to say, and that's just going to be, as an understatement, a very, very negative thing to do to people. I know it's huge understatement, but I think that is why it is important to become more emotionally aware. Yeah, dude, I'm feeling pretty good. I found a really good quote, actually. I found a really good quote that goes along with this, actually, which is crazy. I follow this account on Instagram called We the Urban. I'm sure a lot of the people that listen to this podcast know about We the Urban on Instagram. And they had this really good quote, and it was, "What is yours will find you if you make the space for it." And I am an overthinker sometimes. Sometimes majority of the time. But we're working on it. But I can definitely overthink. And this quote does sometimes have me think about the things that I'm doing and if I'm doing enough. If I'm making enough space. Because I don't know if I do. I don't know if I hold the most space for the people that need to be held. I don't think that I do it all the time. I think I try my hardest. I think I get really excited. I get really excited when I get started in a friendship and I'm getting close with people and I'm trying to build something with people, that I can lose touch with the importance of making space. for not only those people, but the other people in my life too, and the environments that really need me. And I think that's why when I am so introspective, I notice when I need to change, I notice what needs to change. But then, it's not always just me, because I could sit here and think that it's not me all the time. But then I could have people around me that say, bro, it is. And we need some change here, or it's just going to seem like it's not going to get better. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thankful yet again that I get held accountable. It's not always me though. It is, but it can be me. But even with self-awareness, we can get caught up in our routines. We can get caught up in how we do things that we don't even recognize that we are possibly affecting the people closest to us or the people around us. And I think that's what has gotten to it. There was a time where I wasn't really being the best sibling or family member of my family. And I think it was because I was so involved in what was currently happening in my internal world. Or not currently, but at the time what was happening in my internal world, that I wasn't recognizing what I was actually doing to the people, not even to the people, maybe not directly to the people, but indirectly to the people around me. And now that it has been brought to my awareness and that I am recognizing how I can grow and be better for not only myself, but for the people around me, especially those that I live near, it invites me to look from their perspective and look at how I can do better. And I think because that's happened recently, I'm getting better. And I've also dropped things that were unhealthy for me, which thank God for that. I dropping the distractions, dropping the things that only hold us back, because at the end of the day, you're not going to get to where it is you want to be if you're not willing to let go of what was for you as your past self. So I recognized that marijuana was becoming a huge setback for me, especially after things that happened in my life that affected me. Since then, I'm a lot happier and I'm okay with it. I think what I was dealing with for such a long time is I was looking at how other people could sit down and smoke weed all the time, be productive, be whatever it is they were being. But I think I was looking from the outside in, and I never actually understood what their internal world was. All I could recognize was what was happening in my own internal world. So then it got to the point where I recognized that I was going in circles. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I still think about it because I'm like, oh, it would be really cool. But I recognize that it gets me so deep in a downward spiral that I'm not doing things that I enjoy. I'm just letting time pass by me. I'm not getting down what I need to finish, or I'm not putting in the work and the effort that needs to be put in. So I'm thankful for my ability to notice. I'm thankful for my friends who bring it to my attention. I'm thankful to my family for holding me accountable and telling me you need to feel what you're feeling instead of running away from it. And I believe for a long time I was running away from several things because I was afraid. And dude, we can't run away. We have to be able to stand firm, take it, and just, especially when we are in the wrong, we can't run away. This is a whole new opportunity to be an entirely new person, to take in what we've learned and what we've gained, and not even attaching, but taking what resonates, doing the work that needs to be done, and coming from a different place, becoming a new me, becoming a new you. I talk about it all the time, how important it is. Change is needed. Recognizing when you're in the wrong is needed. Recognizing when you need to change is needed. We can be so solidified in ourselves sometimes in what it is that we believe that we don't realize how important it is to look at different perspectives, take in different perspectives. It is the openness. It is having an open mind. It is recognizing that we may not always have the answers. Other people might have the answers, and we'll have to be... I believe that we should definitely do our own research, do what we need to figure it out for ourselves. I'm not just someone who just takes what someone tells me and say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna just do it that way. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that you got to do some extensive fucking work, because you don't have to do extensive research on something, but do the research you need. And when you feel comfortable, or when you feel that it's not the advice you want to take because you've done the research yourself, that is how you make your decision. For example, I was seeing all these ads for it's this new toothpaste. I can probably find it. It's right here, I'm sure. Boca. That is the brand I checked out. And that is what it is. Oopsies. Let's see here. It's probably not going to pop up here, so I'm just going to explain it because... So it is nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste. That's what it is. And I was getting these ads from stores and stuff like that on gum that was all natural, but it rebuilds your enamel. So I'm like, what is in this shit that's rebuilding enamel? Because all my life, dentists have been telling me to use fluoride-based toothpaste. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I come across the gum. I'm like, that's pretty cool gum, but I don't want to try that. And then I came across Boca. I don't even remember how. I think I Googled nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste and Boca came up. And I didn't do a shit ton of research. I didn't. I looked at reviews and stuff. I looked at what people were saying about it, and I was seeing it pop up a lot of places. It was starting to be this new thing. Then I had a conversation with it about someone I had a conversation about it with another friend of mine, and they were like, dog, you should do your research before you just get something. And I'm like, at this point, I had already got it because I felt pretty sure about it. My how I go about it is, if my intuition says it's good, I follow that. I follow that feeling. Maybe not a feeling, maybe it's just like that intuition it's like a guidance. If the intuition guides me to it and it resonates and I get that you should do it, that is where like I do it. Now, did I do any sort of deep research at the time? No, I had just bought the toothpaste. But then I actually did a little bit of research, and there's actual like information on it. It's not toxic as far as that we've seen, and it does rebuild your enamel. It makes you have stronger teeth. And I think I do brush my teeth pretty hard, so I think that I can damage my enamel more. And I eat a lot of citrusy foods like oranges. I love mandarin oranges. Coffee. I don't drink soda, but every now and then I'll have, like, when I get into a coffee kick, I'll do like a cup of coffee, 2 cups of coffee like in a week, and maybe I'll do that for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and then I take a break, because if I drink too much coffee, I start to don't need to be having coffee that much for me. But no, I just got it in the mail. The flavor isn't there. You get flavor for the first 3 seconds, but by the time it's done, it's like you've had nothing. And it's just like a very faint flavor. And I obviously am not going to get any sort of new feelings from this until like I've used it for a while. And so I got a 3-pack. I gave one to my family member, and when we start using it enough and we've really started to feel any changes, I think that's when we're going to start talking about it. But I like that I tried something new, because I don't want to. I think fluoride is toxic. It is it's a brain toxin, I'm pretty sure, and so I don't want to put that in my body, because your mouth is going to absorb that stuff just like how it's going to absorb this. And so I want to see if that's going to be any different. And if it's going to rebuild my enamel, with one thing about fluoride, if fluoride doesn't rebuild your enamel, it actually weakens it, which causes you to have to go to the fucking dentist more. So make sure you're flossing. But no, I really like that I tried a new toothpaste. I got a new camera coming in, not for the podcast. I'm going to keep using my phone until I haven't been able to get a new camera. I would like to get a new camera. If I get a new camera, I'm still going to use my phone. I'll use the camera and the phone so I can have two separate angles, because I really, within this year, I want to be able to have more people on. And I think I want to bring in another person to co-host with me. I really do. I think co-host for the Tristcast would be good. We might have to go through a new branding if we do that. But I think when that time comes, we'll figure it out there. But I think about wanting to do the show with people, because I really like talking to people. I like bringing people on. So even if if it's just the Tristcast and I have a co-host and we bring on other people too, we have great conversations. There's a few people I've had on the show already, and I think if we can give it a different vibe, even though I like this vibe, I do like this vibe, and I still want to do stuff like this. Like when we talk about these kind of things, I think because getting other people's perspective on these kind of topics is still really nice. And I think it's still needed, especially with how I go about it. But I do want to have another person here with me. I do. I think it would be fun. It'd be really cool. But yeah, I think we have the opportunity to be better individuals, to put ourselves first, to not abandon ourselves, be open to when people want to hold us accountable, when we are doing things that might hurt others. Because one of the main things I pray about is wanting to be surrounded by people who want me to be my best and want to raise me up, not put me down. And I don't want to put down anybody. I want to hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable. I don't know if I do that. I don't know if I do that well, at least. But at least people are helping me be better. And at least I'm coming here and I'm expressing what I'm going through about my journey and the things that matter to me. And I think that's going to be helpful. Whether or not it's only helping one person or not, it's still helping me. So, yeah, go get some new toothpaste. It's not sponsored. I like it. I think it's cool. I use it a day now. Not even like half of a day at this point. But yeah, I'm really happy I got to spend some time with you guys today. I really enjoyed this. I'm glad that we were able to work through this. I had a timer go off earlier because I have to do stretches, but, take care of yourself, love on yourself when you need it. And if things don't work out, dude, it's not the end of the world. It's going to get better. It'll get better. I think it will. I saw something that tried to say opposite, but I think it's going to get better. I think if we just keep holding on and we don't give up, I think it's going to get better. But yeah, with that, I'd like to say, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening, and a wonderful night. Peace.